Good morning, everybody. We're live here from the Birdhouse. It is Tuesday, August 12th. We are midway through August, and today we've got an update about Orioles, hummingbirds, and some different butterflies that people are seeing in their yards. As always, we love to know who's on. You can say hi in the comments. If you have questions, you can put those in there too. And you can let us know what kind of things you are seeing. If you are local to the area, I should mention we are extending our inventory reduction / scratch and dent sale. That's going to go through Saturday. So we will be extending that sale. And right now we've got everything in that sale 75% off. So there's some really, really good deals in it right now. Also, our photo contest has started. So if you are a photographer, definitely check out our website, which is thebirdhouseny.com. Check out the events section, and you can learn all about entering our photo contest totally for free. And you can win gifts. You can win gift certificates to the store. So let's get started talking about some of the different butterflies people are seeing, especially if you've got milkweed out there. Check your common milkweed. Also check your swamp milkweed and butterfly weed for the monarch butterfly eggs and caterpillars. We are definitely getting lots of people reporting monarch caterpillars, which is great, especially if you've got the common milkweed around, because those leaves are so big. It's a lot of food for the caterpillars. It seems to be their preferred plant to lay their eggs on. So check that common milkweed for the monarch butterfly caterpillars, which can be a multitude of different sizes right now. They have what are called 5 different larval instars, different sizes. As they grow, they have to shed their skin in order to grow. And every time they do that, they look a little bit different. So they do have different instars. If you're interested in the monarch butterfly, we are doing a class on the monarch butterfly this Saturday. That is a live class at Whitehaven Park at 10 o'clock. So we are doing that in-person class, all about the monarch butterfly, about their migration, about their biology. So it should be a lot of fun. So that's this Saturday. I came across a little monarch butterfly caterpillar this weekend myself, and I really like this zoomed in picture because you can see some of the their physical characteristics. With caterpillars, it's pretty interesting. They are insects, but they're just not in their adult stages yet, but they still have some of the characteristics of those insects, like their legs here. Even though they are caterpillars and they seem to have a lot of legs, they still only have the 6 segmented legs, just like the adult insects do. And here at the front of the caterpillar here, right by its head, you can see there's 3 little sets of legs here. And then they do have these little fleshy kind of legs, which help them crawl around and attach to the plants. Those aren't true legs, but those are called pro legs, which they lose in their adult stage. But lots of caterpillar activity out there. If you're looking for caterpillars, you can look for signs of the caterpillars, and they do leave lots of signs as they eat and eat and eat. It does have to come out the other end. Caterpillar poop is called frass, so you can look for frass on the leaves of plants. That's a good indication that you've got a caterpillar around, like this collection here on some common milkweed I came across. And sure enough, it wasn't monarch butterfly caterpillars on it, but it was the milkweed tussock moth caterpillars, all in a big group. And so this is what they look like when they're smaller, but then I came across a couple larger ones that were starting to wander this past weekend too. So they were probably about ready to pupate, but this is what they look like. They're very fuzzy looking with black and white and orange tufts. These are called the milkweed tussock moth, and this is what they turn into ultimately. But they are out there on the milkweed too. Maybe you might come across the long-horned beetles. The red milkweed beetles are on the milkweed. So there's lots of different insects that you can find out there on the milkweed plant, not just monarch butterfly caterpillars. Also be on the lookout for the viceroy butterfly, which is a mimic of the monarch butterfly. They're smaller, and they have this little line that goes through their hind wing. So the viceroy butterflies are out there. Some other caterpillars you might see, I've been seeing a lot of these little guys. These are called the hickory tussock moth caterpillar. They're a white fuzzy caterpillar with black kind of black spikes coming out of them. You don't want to touch them because the hairs on them can cause irritation to your skin. But there's a lot of the hickory tussock moth caterpillars out there right now too, and this is what they turn into, a nice pretty moth there. So lots of them out there, and I've been coming across my first for the season woolly bear caterpillars. So as we go into the fall, you'll start to see more and more of them, but they are starting to emerge as well. So lots of fun stuff out there. And I came across this weekend a red spotted purple butterfly, which is this butterfly right here. And it gets its name from when its wings are closed and at rest. And at rest, you can definitely see how it gets its name. It's a really, really gorgeous butterfly with bright red spots and bright blue spots on it. And you'll notice it doesn't have the swallowtail on it. It can often look like a black swallowtail, but it doesn't actually have that swallowed tail on the bottom of its wing. So that is a red spotted purple, but there are lots of swallowtails out there. There's things like the spice bush swallowtail. There's black swallowtail. I've been seeing a lot of tiger swallowtail, and even this is the giant swallowtail here. So a lot of good swallowtail activity out there. Lots of butterflies out, especially if you're by a field with a lot of wildflowers. Lots of butterflies out there too. And I, over the weekend, was watching a very busy wren who finally found its mate and has some babies it's been taking care of. You can see in the bottom corner here is the little wren with a caterpillar in its bill. And I was having some fun doing some digiscoping, attaching my cell phone to my spotting scope to get some footage of the house wren that was very, very active and kept bringing insects to its young. So here's another video here. I don't know if you can hear the chattering, if it's loud enough, but the babies were very, very loud and chattering. And so was the wren itself, was making quite a bit of noise. But this is a house wren that I was watching over the weekend feeding its babies. So there is still some nesting activity out there. There's young birds that are starting to emerge and go out into the world. And then there's some that are kind of wrapping it up here for the season, and they're about to go down south for the winter. Things like Baltimore Orioles. People haven't been reporting a ton of Baltimore Orioles. That being said, they are seen pretty commonly throughout the month of August. So you might start seeing them coming back to your feeders as they are getting some food and more calories to make the migration down south. So not a lot of Oriole activity around, but they are still in the area and passing through and going down south. We've got some from further north that are making their way down through here also. So there's going to still be Oriole activity, just not as much of it that you probably saw in the spring, but throughout the rest of the month, probably through mid-September or so. But some other things to look out for if you are having wildflowers around, not only hummingbirds, but hummingbird clearwing moths. We are getting lots of reports of them coming to things like this blazing star or the bee balm they seem to really like. And of course, so do the hummingbirds. And this is what we've really been getting lots of reports of over the past couple weeks. Lots of hummingbirds are starting to come back to people's yards and feeders and flowers. So earlier in the spring, and actually throughout the whole spring and early summer, people were reporting very lackluster numbers of hummingbirds. But that being said, all of a sudden, they seem to be coming back into people's yards. So I know I've been seeing quite a few of them. Here's a video of one from my driveway that was going to the bee balm. You can see it right there. So I've been getting lots of hummingbirds coming to my plants in my backyards. in my backyard. And so then I started putting out extra feeders too, because I haven't been getting that much Oriole activity. So I've been replacing some of my Oriole feeders with the hummingbird feeders, and hoping that that will encourage them to keep coming more regularly. Here's a picture that Lynn sent in, also of a hummingbird on the bee balm. So she's been getting hummingbirds in her yard. Mark J sent in some photos here of hummingbirds in his yard. So people are definitely getting them coming to their flowers and to their feeders. So some things that you can do if you're trying to encourage more hummingbirds is, because they are so territorial, if you put up multiple feeders in different locations, that's your best bet of getting more hummingbirds. If you put out all your hummingbirds really close to hummingbird feeders close to one another, or if you've just got one large hummingbird feeder, you probably won't get a big mass of them, because they are quite territorial. Even this time of the year, they can still be quite territorial. So your best bet is to put out multiple feeders throughout the yard in different places, which are not within eyesight of one another. And that can be done so many different ways. We have things like the window feeders, the window hummingbird feeders. We, of course, have the window seed feeders, but we do have window hummingbird feeders. They suction cup right onto the window, and that might be a different location than where you have your hummingbird feeder right now. Also, we've got lots of really cute and fun little kind of small hummingbird feeders. So things like this little one here called the Hum Blossom on the right-hand side. That's a really small 4-ounce hummingbird feeder, and you can kind of scatter them throughout the yard and offer nectar sources in different spots. A couple of my other favorites, which are also fairly small, if you're looking to kind of branch out with your hummingbird feeders, but you don't want to get anything too elaborate, we have this mason jar hummingbird feeder, which is very, very cute. And again, it's not really large, but you can scatter these throughout the yard and offer the hummingbirds multiple food sources. And I also really like this one called the Charming Cherry hummingbird feeder. So we've got some different types, and of course we've got way more than this. But these are some of my favorites that I've been adding into my hummingbird feeder repertoire to try to attract more hummingbirds to my backyard. We also have all the hooks that you need if you are looking to scatter them throughout the yard. You don't necessarily need a really heavy duty shepherd's hook. We have some hooks that are a little bit lighter duty for light hummingbird feeders. So we've got plenty of those. And then, of course, we have all the accessories that you could need. We have the weather guards for if it rains, that will help keep the nectar and jelly. If you're still feeding jelly to the Orioles, it'll help it from getting diluted. So we do have all those. But the things you're probably really interested in are things that'll keep the insects out. And we've been getting lots of calls and questions about that. As far as keeping insects out of jelly, there's not too much you can do besides putting up one of these, which is called an ant moat. And these you can use for Oriole feeders or hummingbird feeders. They are just little cups that you hang above your feeder. You fill them with water, and then the ants can't crawl down around the water to get down to the feeder. So these are really popular, especially to keep out ants. And then what I find with mine are the smaller birds like goldfinches and chickadees will use this as a little bird bath, and they'll use it to drink out of, which is really fun. But this is a good way to keep ants out of your hummingbird feeder or your Oriole feeder. As far as Oriole feeders go, there's not really a good way to keep the bugs out of the jelly. As far as the flying insects, if you've got bees that are raiding your jelly, there's really not too much you can do. I'll show you a couple things though, as we go along that can kind of help. But for the most part, it's easy food for them. And there's always going to be some hanging around. Here's a picture that Bob had sent in a while ago of a pine siskin drinking from his little ant moat there. And then there's other things you can put on your feeders or feeder poles to keep the crawling insects out like ants. This is something called Nectar Fortress. It is a natural ant repellent. It smells kind of like cinnamon. It's just a little gel that comes in a tube, and you can put a line around the pole or even around the top of the feeder. And the ants don't like that smell of cinnamon. And so when they go to climb up the pole, they won't go around it. So they won't go around that gel. So it's like a barrier for the ants. So we have plenty of that. People swear by this product. So this is a really good one. And then if you're trying to keep your nectar fresh, you can put out what's called the Nectar Defender. You add a little bit of this to your nectar, and it's all natural micronutrients, which will keep your nectar fresh longer. So this is a really popular product too. So you don't have to change your nectar out every few days. You can change it out every week or so. So this is really nice. And then we do have bee guards for a very specific Oriole feeder. There's the Oriole Fest feeder, which is a very popular feeder, does have bee guards that you can put on the inside of it. So if you've got bees going on the inside of your Oriole Fest feeder, there are what are called nectar guard tips that you can put on there. As far as keeping them out of the jelly, like I said, not too much you can do as far as the bees and wasps go with the jelly. But as far as the hummingbird feeders go, we do have little tips, nectar guard tips that will go on the inside of a lot of hummingbird feeders too, to keep the bees and wasps out. So we do have those accessories for your Oriole and hummingbird feeders. And then what I would recommend, there's two things I would recommend if you are trying to keep the bees and wasps out of the jelly or the nectar. This can really help, but especially the jelly, where there's not really a good way to prevent them from coming. You can put up one of these fake wasp nests or wasp scarers. They're sometimes called a bald-faced hornet's nest. Looks like this. The picture on the right is a bald-faced hornet's nest. It's a gray papery nest, and the bald-faced hornets are very nasty. They're very territorial, and so most bees and wasps don't want to be anywhere near them. And so what we sell are these fake wasp nests that will mimic a bald-faced hornet's nest. So you can hang these around your feeders where you've got a whole lot of bees and wasps congregating or getting on your feeders, and it can help scare them away. So that is one thing that you can do. We get a lot of really positive feedback about these, not only at bird feeders, but if you've got a picnic area or pool, these can really help keep the bees and wasps away. So we've got plenty of those here. And then you can also put out a really sugary solution in a separate area. So we sell a lot of these just bird bath dishes. We use these really simple plain plastic bird bath dishes for our butterfly puddler class that we did, and people use them for bird baths all the time. You can also use them as a way to keep the bees and wasps from going to your feeders by providing them with a very sugary solution that's nice and open for them to feed from. I like using these bird baths for that because they're so simple and easy to clean. What you do is, instead of using your regular nectar recipe, which is usually 1 part sugar to 4 parts water, make a really, really, really sugary solution that's more like 1 part sugar to 1 part water. Put it in an open dish like this, and then put it further away from your feeders. So put it on the other side of the yard, and the bees and wasps will definitely come to that. And so sometimes that can keep them from going to your feeders. If they're going to something else that's providing them with more nutrition and more calories, they will go to that as opposed to your hummingbird feeders or your Oriole feeders. So that's something else that you can do to, act as like a decoy to keep them away from your feeders. So those are a couple of things that you can do to help keep them, the bees and the wasps and the ants, out of your feeders. So nothing's 100%, unfortunately, but those things can help. Let's see, Lynn is on, and she says, many male and female Orioles over here in northern Pittsburgh going through a lot of jelly. That is great news. So Lynn is getting lots of Orioles still, which is fabulous. So definitely, if you guys are seeing them, give us your reports, send in your photos. We'll be back on Saturday with another broadcast. And until then, have a great week, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.